Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to lovely Caswell Softball Complex in Mankato, Minnesota. It is day number one of the 2025 ISC World Men's Tournament. One game in the books, and in this contest, we have a matchup between the Seattle Dirt Dogs, who will be on the field and in the game defensively, against Blair Setford. I think a team that has a chance to make a real run in this year's tournament. Much improved STK Fastball, who now call Kamloops, British Columbia, home.
Yeah, you look through their lineup, and there are some guys who have played at high level. There's national team players here. 1 through 9, they are a decent team. They can absolutely make some noise. Scott Life has got all the ability in the world. He's got good stuff, good up, down, changes speeds. He will rely on the hard stuff, though. Maybe that's the one criticism, but the one thing to watch. Maybe he's picked up a changeup over the years.
Well, he returns. You'll see him when STK, who is not hard to discern as far as the uniform is concerned, and their leadoff batter is Ryan Bicknell, number 30. In the 8 games that he has played in, certainly that have been recorded statistically, he's hit well. He's 7 for 19 and drops down a bunt against Nate Thiessen, who does very well to make a barehanded play for the first out and just gets Bicknell at first.
Well, that's a big play for Nate Thiessen. Gets him into the game right away. Young BC pitcher. And this is a good young squad. Maybe they're stepping up a little bit in weight class here today, but Dewey Christensen has done a great job, Peter, in putting together a collection of young players and getting them exposure over the course of the summer to some good tournaments.
Fouled by a familiar name, and that's Federico Ader, longtime member of the Argentina national team. And in his first year with STK, playing at second base. And, of course, he is from Paraná, although there are some other hometowns.
There's
Blair.
A couple, but not many.
Not many, you're right. He was 3 for 17 in this event last year in Surrey, British Columbia, playing with AWP, who are one of the teams, unfortunately, who are not back in 2025, but had several outstanding players for other teams to add to their collective rosters, which is exactly what this STK group has done. They have made significant adds.
Yeah, this is an upgrade for STK, Benny Stickwickway and his crew that played in a number of tournaments. They've been busy all summer long.
They have, going all the way back to, I believe, Rich Haldane's May Days tournament in Kelowna, British Columbia.
And just recently, as last weekend, won a tournament in Seattle.
They did the Seattle Invitational, as Ader asking our home plate umpire exactly where it was. It was called a strike. He's a 2-time All-World player at this event. Ader, he was 1 for 8 batting for Argentina at the recently completed World Cup in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and now he will draw a 1-out walk.
Well, this is what Nate Thiessen is going to have to watch, is the free passes to this team. This is an experienced team, and while he's a young player out there, he can't be intimidated. He's got to go after guys and execute his pitches, not giving in and giving up free bases on balls.
Another player from Argentina, back for another year with STK. This is number 40, Alejo Munoz, the 26-year-old. And he was impressive at last year's ISC World Tournament. He batted .429. STK went 2-2, and he drives this high and deep and gone. And way gone.
Yeah, not just over the game fence, Peter, but over the perimeter fence as well. That is a 290-foot shot off the bat of Alejo Munoz, who is more known for the glove, but some pop right there.
Well, it just mentioned his solid batting average 1 year ago at this very event, and that is some start as he takes Nate Thiessen of the Dirt Dogs out of the yard. And he will likely have more than one run batted in now at this year's event. He has one already, and an impressive strike off the bat for Alejo Munoz. There's Riley James from Brisbane. Here's an up-and-coming potential star.
Well, I was just about to say another national team player here, Riley James for Australia. A bit of a disappointing World Cup event for the defending champions. You can say the same for Argentina and Canada as well. 3 teams that were picked by myself included and a lot of others to make the medal round and didn't.
Well, the one thing I really felt strong about going into that World Cup was I thought it was the most competitive World Cup
without a doubt
in men's history, going way, way back to when it first started, but in no way, shape, or form did I ever expect the type of results as Riley James, the 22-year-old, goes down swinging, and Nate Thiessen has his first strikeout of this ISC World Tournament. And here's another guy who, Blair, you've been watching for 150 years. Not that long, but he is 38-year-old Manuel Godoy.
I don't want to date both of us, but as long as I've been coming to the World Tournament, it feels like Manuel Godoy has been participating.
Well, he's been in the neighborhood. You would have seen more than he has. And he's in a new home this year. He was a Northeast driller in 2024, where he went 5 for 18. And, yes, another longtime national team member. And this one he clubs almost wedge style, but it carried a long way.
Manuel Godoy always has had the power, and you're absolutely right, Peter. Watch him go on the replay, go down and get this one.
If only some of us could hit a wedge this far. He goes down and gets this, and you knew it the minute it left the bat.
Yeah.
And I think the wind is helping too. It seems to be, I'm no meteorologist. Don't even try to play one ever on TV or the radio, but it would appear that that's not a big guess to suggest it helped that ball. So 2 home runs off the bats of Munoz and Godoy have given STK an early 2-0 lead. As this is Conrado Zanutini, who sounds like he might be from downtown Rome, but he is not. He is also from Argentina. He's still in the early stages of his career. He was a member of the Ostrander Norsemen in 2024 at Softball City in Surrey, British Columbia. Did not have a hit there last year, Blair. He went 0 for 11.
Yeah, and he was with the Reapers prior to that and was a real solid contributor with that team. Has stepped up in weight class here this year with Ostrander and then up to STK. Solid defensively behind the plate, too.
Yeah, played for Argentina and was good both behind the plate and at bat in the U23 2023 World Cup, where he went 8 for 20. Goes the other way off the end of the bat, but nice running catch out in right field. That's well done by Levi Tate. So a couple of long balls, and STK off to a good beginning on day number 1 of the 2025 ISC World Tournament.
Called strike 3, the outside corner. They weren't going to that. Yeah. High in the air, Viavazo comes to get it, and the Chiefs are back to the top of the mountain. The gloves fly. The celebration is underway.
Well, there is a great overhead look at this fine facility. 4 diamonds, a couple of practice diamonds as well. As STK, courtesy of 2 long balls, have a 2-0 lead against the Seattle Dirt Dogs, who did participate in the tournament 1 year ago, much closer to home when it was played about 3 hours away. There is the batting order for STK, and we watch them go through 6 hitters, and now it's the turn of the Seattle Dirt Dogs, who went 1-2 in 2024. And they will send Tyson Fischlin to home plate. Blair, nobody better to do this than you. How about a scouting report on the starting pitcher who's been away for a while in Scott Life?
Yeah, he's got all the tools, has always thrown hard, his ball moves. And with Scott, it's always just been a question, Peter, of consistently bringing your A game. There are times when he's been dominant over the years, and then suddenly it just seems to slip away a little bit.
Even in 2 pitches, I can see the movement.
Yeah. Oh, he's always had good movement.
And even changing speeds of the first 2 offerings. Pitched for Canada at the 2019 World Cup. And I believe that was the last time he has participated in this event, was in that same year. So he is back from Victoria, British Columbia. And I'm sure STK excited to have him as he tries to find the strike zone for the first time, and does, as he paints an outside corner against Tyson Fischlin, who was 2 for 8 at last year's World Tournament. And then had another 4 hits in ISC 2 when they were eliminated. And an early walk given up by Scott Life. Blair, one of the things I really like about STK is it's a pretty solid pitching staff of 3 when you think about young Pepe and Jorge Segura to round it out.
It's a real good mix. I ran into Jorge Segura this morning at breakfast. There are few guys that are happier to be here than Jorge Segura. That's just his personality. Great to see and reconnect with him. But it's a real nice veteran staff with Jorge and Scott. And then the hard-throwing Juanjo Pepe really rounds this out nicely.
Brent Schick is the batter, the second baseman from Olympia, Washington. 0 for 5 at last year's ISC and showing bunt, not a surprise.
We saw both teams in the game prior get into the small game right away. And I only bring that up because later in the week, you're going to see teams go inning upon inning without showing bunt.
Well, a hit and run was on that time, and Schick's disappointed. He knew he had a good pitch to try and drive, and as I say on broadcasts all the time in this sport, when a ball ends up going straight back of home plate, you know that a batter has just missed it. Yeah. And that was the case there.
Yeah, he put a good swing on it.
As Life continues to work, punched, and again, foul off the bat of number 3. Believe they're using the K-Master ball in this event. And Blair, at some point later in the week, shed some light. You and I and others have had a lot of conversations about this level, the highest level that you can play in the men's game, in a year where batters have dominated pitchers. And I had a great conversation at the hotel last night as to maybe how one factor could be the difference in the balls that people have been using on a very regular basis, especially the top pitchers.
I would be curious to know what is drawing the difference. I've noticed a difference in the manufacture of the balls. Balls made in one country tend to rip a lot more than balls made in another country. And because the manufacturer has a couple of different manufacturing sites, whether there's a difference in the core.
It seems in a lot of cases too, is what I was told.
Okay. Well, and that could be related to how tightly they're wound.
And how balls move, according to...
Well, if you've got a higher seam, in theory, as a pitcher, you're going to get more rotation on it, and that should make it move.
Well, it was a fascinating conversation, and we'll get to that later in more detail, but I think everybody's always a little interested in those types of storylines. Levi Tate is the batter, the right fielder, who made the final out of the top of the first inning. Life with a rise ball that he nearly bent in to the strike zone as he's trying to find a rhythm in his first game back at an ISC since 2019. Drop ball that time, over to second for one, and there are now two away. Is quality work by Nick Potskin to go into the hole. Made a strong throw, but no real chance for Federico Ader to turn it over.
No, that's a good play by Potskin to go get that and to give Feddy an easy ball to handle at second base. Sometimes you see guys rush that, and their double play mate is just having to scramble to make a single out.
So two away, and a bounding ball, a tester, and well done by Riley James to retire Ryan Daly. So a walk and one left. STK continues to lead it. It is 3-0 after a full inning here in Mankato.
Let's talk about a local one-stop shop. Live Well for Life is just that. A fitness, nutrition, and therapy facility all under one roof. Located at 3878 Wellington Street in Mitchell, Ontario, you can get so much done in just one visit. A full complement of staff on hand include chiropractic, massage, and personal training to get you back to your healthy self. Find them on the web at livewellforlifeinc.com or give
Live Well for Life, a proud sponsor of the broadcast program.
A 3-0 advantage for STK Fastball out of Kamloops, BC. A couple of home runs, a 2-run shot off the bat of Alejo Munoz, and then Emmanuel Godoy, solo home run. The reason for the advantage is it's popped back by the designated player, Jason Potskin. As he leads things off in the top half of the second inning. And there's a good off-speed pitch from Nate Thiessen, the starter. Jessen was 3 for 12 at last year's ISC World Tournament. He doubled and he drove in a run. His big game, a 2 for 3 outing, came against the Ohio Bombers. And this one, very playable in the sun, shading his eyes and hauling it in, is Logan Christensen. So a good beginning for the Dirt Dogs to open the top of the second inning.
Number 14, Max Major.
Peter, just while we've got a second, our blue crew out here, the third team, Robbie Duran from Osalo, Wisconsin, is behind the dish. Steve Gallagher, Coburg, Ontario, out at first. And Daryl Helmer from Airdrie, Alberta, is over at third base. I believe that's who we've got, but I also stand to be corrected because No, that is definitely Mike Morrissey. So we've got some changes. We'll sort it out.
On the ground. Good quick throw from Mitch Armstrong in time to get the speedy and Canadian national team member Max Major. And he's another player, Blair, I think you're going to see do a lot of big things before this tournament is over, or certainly in his career.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a surprise that Max Major was on the Canadian national team, but he definitely did not look out of place whatsoever.
Well, he didn't play a lot. Only had 3 at-bats. Those came in a game against the Dominican. There's the batter is Nick Potskin. The shortstop is from Prince George. And in his last 8 games with STK, he's 10 for 17. Which is nothing to sneeze at.
No, Irma Tigers, he enjoyed a real good year in ISC 2, actually. They won ISC 2 that year, 2018. And he had a ridiculous batting average, something like 8 for 11.
He was 2 for 8 with Prince George last year in Surrey, British Columbia. But you're right, an absolute veteran of this event. Going back a number of years, trying to get things rolling with 2 out. Fielded well, on the run, the throw, never that easy. But Brent Schick gets it done. Well, that'll build a little confidence for pitcher Nate Thiessen. A 1-2-3 second, and it remains 3-0 STK here at the ISC World Tournament in Mankato, Minnesota.
Welcome to Mont Hill Golf and Country Club. With our beautiful 27-hole golf course open to the public, we work tirelessly to ensure your time with us is second to none. Well, here you'll be able to enjoy an incredible dining experience at our very own Big Pete's Steakhouse. Play some of the best courses in the world with our state-of-the-art golf simulators. Upgrade your gear with the top brands at our pro shop, or host a stunning wedding, event, or conference inside one of our beautiful ballrooms. Learn all this and more at monthill.ca. We can't wait to see you soon.
Logan O'Leary set to lead things off with the Seattle Dirt Dogs trailing STK in the opening game for both.
And Peter, let me get the umpires right this time. And my apologies, guys, for getting this wrong. George LeMaitre, Hamilton, Ontario, is behind the plate. Scott McLaren from Penticton, BC, is out at first. And Mike Morrissey, Peterborough, Ontario, over at third. Scott McLaren, fresh off a World Cup assignment, too.
Well, that's the other part that should never be neglected, is the quality of those people that work this tournament each and every year.
Yeah, this is a great crew that Randy McLam has put together.
A lot of big names, I know that, in the first couple of games. Certainly names and people, and such great people, too. I've had the chance, certain cases, to get to know better and better all the time, depending on the events you work, is life. Upstairs to Logan O'Leary, the left fielder. Had to have been a late roster addition. Those finalized, Blair, yesterday or today?
There were some changes that came in this morning.
That's what I thought.
The manager meeting. There almost inevitably is.
And not sure if that was called or swinging. It had the combination of both. Full count. Dirt Dogs in search of their first hit. off Scott Life. And Scott disappointed as he has walked the batter for the second time early in the game. Blair, with your long history, and I think
making me feel old.
You really don't want to start that train, do you?
My long history.
Listen, if you're gonna be the voice of a tournament and around something for a long time, that's a positive thing. I keep telling you that. It's going to be up to you. So now I'm just going to do it more. That's all.
Yes, I have just set myself up.
You have set yourself up. But anyway, you don't need to be a rocket surgeon to know that for some of the teams that expect to make a long run, you'd like to take care of business, shall I say, efficiently in games where you're expected to be the front runner.
Look, you want to get off the diamond as quickly as possible every time you go out on the diamond. And you're not there to embarrass anybody. You're there to do your job.
Steal attempt. That is terrific hands shown by Federico Ader. And it does not take a lot of viewings. Remember last year at a World Cup qualifying event in Prince Albert that I was lucky enough to be around, there was 4 occasions, Blair, where Ader just flat out made, whether it was softball smart or great hands plays, that I don't know if that would be an underrated part of his game, but you know me, I love great defense, and while that wasn't a superb play, that wasn't an easy play on the steal attempt.
No, Fetty Eater has always had those soft hands. Can play second, can play short. I think second is the better position for Fetty, and he is a defensive wizard. Always has been.
Man, he makes good plays. Logan Christensen from Spanaway, Washington, first baseman and the batter. He was 1 for 6 in the 2024 ISC World Tournament. His hit came against the Alberta Masters Pirates, who were in the field. 32 teams in the field to begin in 2025. You happy with that number? Yes and no?
I would have liked 36, and I think there's a couple of situations that have contributed to that, and we'll pick up that storyline. It looked to me like all of the STK guys were headed off the field there.
It almost confused me for a second, so you were not alone.
Yeah, so this tournament ends next weekend. I think everybody knows that. Next weekend is also the Canadian Native Men's Fastball Championship. There are 4 teams at least who have and they always support that tournament, and I love them for it, that they have
absolutely
made that event one of the best on the calendar. But that's taken away teams and players from this year. And let's remind everybody why we're playing in July, not our traditional second, third week of August, is because the World Games in Chengdu, China, which start 2 days after our tournament finishes, a bunch of guys are getting on planes from Minnesota to go to Vancouver to go to China, or to go to LA to go to China. And look, the opportunity for the best players in the world to play in a multi-sport event where men's fast pitch
has never
gets that kind of exposure, and don't even get me started on how much of a tick-off that is. But we couldn't, in good conscience, say, no, you know what, we're just going to jam the World Tournament there anyway, and you're going to have to make a decision.
I think it's a little unfortunate in a number of different ways. Certainly, it's changed the entire men's club schedule. It's shortened it. It's changed it. It's had effects on this tournament. But again, the caveat for me is this sport, the only way it continues to grow is by showing it off to more people in more places. Popped in the air, Potskin calls off James to end the second. It remains 3-0 on day one of the ISC. Top of the order for STK Fastball. They homered twice off the bats of Vallejo Munoz and Manuel Godoy in the first, off of Nate Thiessen, who remains in the game. Bicknell drops down a bunt. Thiessen won't get him this time.
And he runs very well. Long strides, and he just gobbled up that space.
Looked like a gazelle going down the line. Always helps when you're on the left side of the batter's box. And a leadoff bunt base hit and a beauty for Ryan Bicknell. Talked about the hands defensively of Ader, and he can drop down a bunt. In fact, Blair, it's how I generally describe the best ones. You couldn't take your bare hand, drop it any better than where he just bunted it into the spot too.
Yeah, they've taken advantage here. Brad Shoemate, who's been playing back, they've looked at where he is, and those two guys who can handle the bat, Bicknell and Eder, and now Shoemate is creeping in. But don't forget, Munoz launched one his last at bat.
Yeah, it went over the second fence, and this one he ducks out of the way of. And the two runners on the wild pitch able to scamper up to third and second, respectively.
And Peter, I just want to take a second to point out, so that pitch was up, it hit the mesh, but you saw how far it ricocheted. It actually ricocheted a third of the way down the first base line. The mesh here is so tight that that's going to happen multiple times this week.
It's going to help, and it's also going to hurt.
Well, if it comes straight into the mesh, it should, in theory, at least anyway, come straight back. And I said it in the last game to Joe Todd, there's going to be some runners who are going to get thrown out because that's going to come right back to the catcher. But in that instance there, it took a bit of a right-hand turn.
Munoz, again, deep, not deep enough, but deep enough to cash in his third run of the game, a sacrifice fly, as Bicknell scores easily from third, and it's 4-0. As he went down and got it, forced Logan O'Leary back. Well, there's no track here, but as close to the fence as you would get. And Alejo Munoz, where I mentioned, he'd have more than, already had 2 RBI. He's got 3 now. He had 1 last year.
He's got the early clubhouse lead through game 2.
That's pretty good, though. It's a good way to begin. So Ader remains at third for Riley James, who struck out. And and almost plunked him. Despite the fact that Australia had a rough go, he didn't, at least at home plate. He was 4 for 8 at the World Cup. Thiessen misses outside on that occasion.
Yeah, there are some guys who individually had some real terrific events despite that not transferring over to their national team.
James somewhat fooled, it looked, later than I might have expected on the swing. From the pride of Brisbane, Australia, who played at this year's or last year's event with the Bear Creek Express, and well, he didn't miss that, but it was fouled back to that tight meshing that Mr. Sedford referred to. It sounds like what goes on in between my ears. Very tight meshing. And James strikes out looking and strikes out for a second time in the game. And he didn't love it, let's say that.
Pitch on the outside corner. George LeMaitre rings him up.
And the batter is Manuel Godoy. Again, it's O'Leary. Sun pouring down off those glasses, but able to make the catch. So they do score a run and add to the advantage. It's now 4-0 on the ISC World Tournament Streaming Network.
Park. We're just keeping.
Brad Shoemate is the batter, and he fouls the Scott Life pitch off. The Dirt Dogs down by 4. They've had a couple of runners on base, but have yet to record their first hit. As you can probably hear in the background, other games being played or about to be played on a couple of other diamonds.
Yeah, right behind us, Peter, will be the Townsend Tide and the Grand Prairie Pirates. And we do want to remind people that's our second channel streaming. If your team is playing on Diamond 1, which is not the main diamond. Diamond 2 is the main diamond here. But we've got streaming set up on Diamond 1 as well. It's single camera. And it'll be connected to Game Changer. So be able to follow along. So trying to provide as much coverage here as we can at the ISC World Tournament.
There's Life. The lean back. That looked like the drop. And he takes the ball back in some disgust. Two home runs have been the significant contributor to the advantage. His Life has a strikeout. I have him with 3 in the game.
Well, it's good that you and I are watching the same game because I've got 3 as well.
I like it when those things happen. There are things that occur, conversations, a little peek here and there, over the shoulder. Always nice to check in. There's a swing and a miss by the shortstop, Mitch Armstrong, number 44, for the Seattle Dirt Dogs. Good name. I like the name.
Well, Mitch Armstrong was featured in one of the player profiles that Brian Aratis did, our new communications specialist here in the ISC. Brian, a part of the host committee last year at Softball City in Surrey, British Columbia, did a magnificent job
awesome.
gathering up these about a dozen or so player profiles. They're all on the ISC website. They're on social media. And Mitch's was reposted today because he's playing today, and along with a couple of others from guys that are on the docket today here too. So want to acknowledge Mitch, and you can read more about him in his player profile.
Trust me when I tell you, these players have great stories to tell. They come from some very interesting backgrounds. And I think, Blair, one of the great things is Mitch goes down looking. In this case, he played for the Richmond Rays at last year's ISC World Tournament in Surrey, British Columbia, is that for most common fans, it's just easier to, I'm looking for the right adjectives. Connect would be one, but you know, these guys, they have jobs. You know, they're can absolutely, you know, understand where they're coming from, why they do it. So I think that's something that's always important to mention, is life working on back-to-back strikeouts and now maybe finding his groove. He did throw in their last 8 games that they've played coming in to this, 18 2/3 innings. As he's facing the leadoff batter in Tyson Fischlin, who walked. There's a pretty changeup. But as they go down to Michael Morrissey, Michael says no on the check swing. Upstairs. And a swing and a miss that time from Fischlin. STK Fastball, the favorite group in this game. And nice work by Fischlin to hang in and send it back to the screen. 4 for 11 was Fischlin in the ISC 2 portion of the tournament.
That was the Dirt Dogs' debut last year in Surrey, British Columbia.
This is well struck. However, Ryan Bicknell didn't have to take a lot of steps. So a 1-2-3, a second straight for Scott Life and STK as they are in command of their first game, leading it by 4 at Caswell Softball Complex in Mankato, Minnesota. Conrado Zanutini leads things off for STK in the fourth with a 4-0 advantage. Young pitcher Nate Thiessen has thrown every pitch so far in the game for the Seattle Dirt Dogs. And Blair, we were talking off the air about this is one of those teams. This is their second consecutive year. There's a few of them in this 32-team field is off the end of the bat. And well handled by Brent Schick over at second for out number one, where this is all part of the growing process, right?
Yeah, you've got to start somewhere. And last year, the Seattle Dirt Dogs had the misfortune to draw the Hill United Chiefs in their first game. But after that game, I went and talked with the coach, Dewey Christensen. And they got no hit in that game. But he was elated that his team and his son were playing in the ISC World Tournament. He couldn't describe how much that meant to him. And this is, as you said, it's a growing process. It's a learning process. The team that was just on the field here before us, the Georgian Bay Giants, they started 3 years ago. And they played in the last two ISC 2 championship games because they've earned their way there. So a team like Seattle, you start young, you build, and you build. And nothing will make you better than exposure to better players and better games.
It's so true. It's not always the easiest to go through.
It can be
in the
painful.
process.
It can absolutely be painful.
But it is a big part of getting better. There's no way to do it other than that, where you face the world's best people.
Yeah, if you're the best team in your league year after year after year after year, and you're not moving up, you need to, because you're actually not getting any better.
Justin Potskin flares one in to shallow center and has his first hit of the 2025 ISC World Tournament. Looks like we are going to have a pinch runner for Jessen. Max Major the batter, but the pinch runner.
I need him to turn around. It was 20-something.
I'm exactly the same. That should be Keegan Pittendry,
yeah,
who played in the tournament, and he can fly.
Yeah.
He didn't need a lot of viewings to figure that out. 22 can scoot. And a good cut that time by Saskatoon's Max Major, who I think actual hometown, and somebody, of course, will chime in on social media because they always do. But in this case, I'm asking for the help. I think his hometown might be Delisle.
I believe so, because I saw a lot of social media posts from the Delisle Dirt Dogs.
A bit of a delayed steal for Pittendry, and he's called out. There's a good snap throw from his knees by catcher Scott Hartley.
Scott's got a good arm back there. I've watched him in warm-up, and he has sent a couple of laser beams down there at the end of innings in the warm-up. And I think they got him on the re-tag.
I think you're right. Max Major, who has a brother who is an excellent ball player too. I saw him play for the first time at the Kelowna May Days tournament, not this May, but last May. And he's an excellent athlete. Believe he was a star high school football player. And again, in this sport, anytime you see great young talent, it bodes well for the future of the sport.
Yeah, good young ball players. And we talked about the next-gen players a lot last year, Peter, and we're going to keep that conversation going because they're coming.
They are coming. And they're coming from a lot of different places and on a lot of different teams here. Max Major being one of them. He will represent Canada again at the upcoming World Games in China. And after that, in September, he'll play for Canada in Argentina at the U23 Pan American Championship.
And you can just imagine soaking up that atmosphere with the Bradley Ezekals and the Matthew Waas and the Shane Bolins, and then transferring that to become a leader on that U23 team. What an opportunity.
Well, he's unhappy with how that at-bat went, but no arguing the point about his upcoming opportunities. It remains 4-0 STK as they lead the Seattle Dirt Dogs on day one of the ISC World Tournament.
Dream catcher, inch by inch, we'll fight to make the lives of First Nations people in this community, this province, and on this continent better. I know we have a long way to go, but I'm proud to say as long as our people have a need, Dreamcatcher will be.
5 hits, 2 of them home runs on the way to STK's 4-0 advantage. And a new pitcher coming into the game. Scott Life's afternoon is over. And this is Jorge Segura from Guatemala City, Guatemala. And he was the workhorse for Guatemala in a 3rd place finish at last September's World Cup qualifying event in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I can remember Canada facing Jorge, gosh, it's got to be 10 years ago now, down in Paraná. And it took Canada 9 innings to scratch out a single run. He's got an incredibly good drop ball. There it is on the outside corner. That's going to be his bread and butter. He's a veteran of the game. He's been around here on the ISC tournament circuit for a number of years with Circle Tap Dukes most recently.
Through 12 2/3 innings with Circle Tap last year. That's a tough hop.
Yeah, that ate him right up. That was over to his right, and it just came right up on Potskin.
Yeah, Nick Potskin had really no chance. Probably could be scored a hit. I am not the official scorer, and by the way, have no interest in the job. This one's hard enough lately as it is. And we'll await the official scoring. Brent Schick is at first base as a result of a fortuitous hop for him. Not so much if you're Nick Potskin, the shortstop.
I went with hit just because it was such a bad hop.
Me too. This off the bat of Levi Tate. And again, an easy out, relatively speaking, for Ryan Bicknell out in center.
He moves very well out in center, covers a lot of ground, and he's not playing very deep. So other guys who might have been 3-4 steps back would have had a lot further to go to get that ball.
Is Jorge Segura in his first inning. 2-0 last year in Surrey with the ISC in those 12 2/3. 6 runs, 8 hits, struck out 21, walked 3. But here's the most interesting note of that stat line. Of the 6 runs he gave up, Blair, look at my one finger. That's how many earned runs that he surrendered. A bounder up the middle, and that is going to end the inning. Taylor made 6 unassisted to 3 double play. We're through 4, and 4 is a key number in this game. It's 4-0 for STK.
Let's talk about a local one-stop shop. Live Well for Life is just that, a fitness, nutrition, and therapy facility all under one roof. Located at 3878 Wellington Street in Mitchell, Ontario, you can get so much done in just one visit. A full complement of staff on hand include chiropractic, massage, and personal training to get you back to your healthy self. Find them on the web at livewellforlifeinc.com or give
Live Well for Life, a proud sponsor of the broadcast program.
Shortstop Nick Plotskin on this steamy Saturday in Mankato, Minnesota.
There were some clouds around earlier. They've taken a powder. It is a high, clear blue sky. There is a nice breeze, which is keeping things sane, and it's blowing out to center left here on this dime. If you get anything up in the air, it's going to carry.
Yeah, we've seen that in this game already. Alejo Munoz and Manuel Godoy both homered back in the top of the first inning. A significant reason for why STK leads. And Nick Plotskin, who defensively started a double play at shortstop in the last half inning, has his first hit of 2025.
Just poked it right up the middle. That was all arms. Just reached out, snapped the wrists over, and sent it right back up the box.
Nice piece of hitting by the STK shortstop, Nick Plotskin. Bunt again by Bicknell, and they get him. Just get him at first. He laid down a bunt single his previous time up, and when it left the bat, I thought it might be a second one, but you've got to give a lot of credit to Logan Christensen, the coach's son, over at first to make that fine fielding play. And you're not even charged for an official time at bat. Goes down as a sacrifice. 3-4 if you're scoring beside me, as Blair is and I am, or at home.
Or you can also follow all the games on Game Changer right along with us.
Never in my life have I used that little tool more often than I have in the year 2025. Although it got a good workout in 2024 too. Who am I kidding? Federico Ader, the batter, keeps his hands back, lifts one into right, and will score the fifth STK run. Nice piece of hitting by the veteran Federico Ader. Kept the hands back on the changeup, followed through, popped it in to the beautiful green grass in the outfield, and it is well manicured here as Nate Thiessen might be giving way after allowing that run in inning number 5. But good for Nate. That's 4 1/3 solid innings against a very, very good opponent. A building block and part of this Seattle Dirt Dog team. And entering the game to pitch is Kyle Fry.
So Kyle Fry is from Ontario. He pitches for the Walton Brewers in their league. I'm not sure how he got hooked up with Seattle, but I'm sure some phone calls were made and opportunities were expressed.
Listed, at least on the ISC roster page. That's also gotten quite a workout, I might add, in my world. From Owen Sound, which over the years has been a very good hotbed. Maybe later rather than more recently. But at one time, Blair, that was a real hotbed.
Oh, yeah. Their junior program, as recently as 2018-2019, was producing national champions, players the caliber of Quentin Bruce went through that program. It is it's still a great place to play up in Owen Sound. And Jamie Simpson and his dad, Bill, still active in the game. Awesome. Jamie's on the JDT staff.
Yes, he certainly is. He coaches third base. Is their head coach. Alejo Munoz. And the first pitch from Mr. Fry is a strike. Munoz has hit a 2-run homer in the game and also driven in a 3rd run with a sacrifice fly and looked a wee bit angry as pitcher Fry says, hey, sorry about that. That's on me. As Federico Ader moves up. And now always important for catcher and pitcher to be on the same wavelength when it comes to signs. Right back up the middle, diving try. How about RBI number 4 of the day for Alejo Munoz?
And that ball, Peter, it got out of the grass and it just absolutely died. The center fielder for Seattle, Tyson Fischlin, was coming in hard, and Fede Eder actually kind of stopped coming around third, but then realized Fischlin hadn't been able to get to it yet, and he picked up another gear and scored easily.
So 2 for 2 with 4 runs batted in, including that RBI single, and a 2-run home run for Alejo Munoz. Won't be hard to find him amongst the leaders after day 1 of the 2025 ISC World Tournament.
Not bad for a day's work.
He's not over
done
yet.
He's not done yet either.
No, he is not.
He might be if he scores, though.
He had just the 1 run batted in 2024. Riley James, in search of his first hit, struck out on a couple of occasions versus the starting pitcher, Nate Thiessen, who gave way to Kyle Fry here in inning number 5. And now, if you're STK, you would be quite partial to potentially scoring 1 more if you could.
Yeah, that's where they need Choco Munoz to come around and score. And as you talked about, Peter, end this as quickly as you can and efficiently as you can.
Bounding ball deep in the hole, and Munoz is able to slide in safely. Mitch Armstrong gave it everything he had. Actually, now it looks like that's a shift over there because that is number 3, Brent Schick, playing at shortstop. He was not the starter in that spot, but showed great range. He started the game at second base, but unable to force Munoz at second.
Peter, Riley Kolda, I believe, or is that? Yeah, Riley Kolda, I believe, is out playing second base now. And we're not privy to all the changes. Sometimes we're going to have to spot them, as you, the audience, might as well.
Happens a lot. Unless you're sitting absolutely right beside, or the message comes across the public address announcer and you're 100% tuned in to listen for it. But after all that, Riley James is at first, and Alejo Munoz is at second. For Manuel Godoy, who has already hit a solo homer in the game, and he flew out to left in his second at-bat. Probably have to score that a hit, wouldn't you, Blair? There's no chance to get him over at first. This is a mile in the air, and it falls. Never saw an infield fly signal go up.
No, because that's not a routine play. It's out on the grass. We're going to get together with the Blue Crew now to discuss. But I was thinking to myself as that play happened, oh boy, he's way off to the side here. That's not a good sign. You want to get underneath the ball. Now
it looks like it is an infield fly.
So they've retroactively called it an infield fly.
So Godoy is going to be out.
So now you advance at your peril.
And wasn't Riley James called out?
No, at second he was, yes. But it's no longer a force.
Correct. You'd have to make the tag.
Which they did not do, apparently.
Probably because they didn't think they had to.
Yeah, I don't like that retroactive call, I'll be frank. I would argue that was not a routine play. In any event, it's the call that's been made.
I have seen, in my last 3 weekends of calling this sport, 3 of those. One of them at a Canada Cup tournament in Surrey, British Columbia for the women's international event, took about 20 minutes to get to a better place with it.
Well, we saw a lot of delays at the World Cup. No replay here. And I would almost say thankfully. Just given the delays that it took and contributed to 3-hour games.
So runners at second and third with 2 out for Conrado Zunatini. There is what we referred to earlier.
Yeah.
Where you're probably going to be aided and you could be hurt by the... I'm going to have that running through my head in the middle of the night.
That's a trampoline effect.
The tight mesh. With the triple flips that go on between my ears most nights at that time anyway. Joe Todd killing himself, so's Blair, because they both know it's very true, which is why things are generally funny. Zanutini looking to cash in a 7th run and fouled that to the top of the screen. Blair, I'll share this with you. I shouldn't. It's at my own peril, but many years ago, working on national television on the desk at Sportsnet in Toronto, my good partner, RJ Broadhead, looked at me during a commercial break one night and goes, "There's a lot going on back there, isn't there?"
And this, Peter, is going to be the ball game as that gets away from the catcher.
Well, they're going to have a chance to bat in the bottom of the fifth.
Sorry, you're right. Of course, yes, Seattle, the home team. My bad. Yeah.
But that is, as you were alluding to, the all-important
7th run
that gives them an opportunity to close it out in the 5th.
Yeah, my bad.
Back at Fry. The overhand toss. And the inning comes to a conclusion. So 3 more runs for STK, and they're in a position with 3 outs if they do not allow a run to end this one in the 5th. You're watching the ISC World Tournament from Mankato, Minnesota.
Welcome to Monthill Golf and Country Club. With our beautiful 27-hole golf course open to the public, we work tirelessly to ensure your time with us is second to none. Well, here you'll be able to enjoy an incredible dining experience at our very own Big Pete's Steakhouse. Play some of the best courses in the world with our state-of-the-art golf simulators. Upgrade your gear with the top brands at our pro shop, or host a stunning wedding, event, or conference inside one of our beautiful ballrooms. Learn all this and more at monthill.ca. We can't wait to see you soon.
Jorge Segura and STK Fastball. Home base is Kamloops, BC, with a 7-0 advantage now in their first game. Team hoping to make a long run in the tournament, certainly in the winner's bracket. Ball well hit off the bat of Logan O'Leary.
Peter Logan from Hutt Valley in New Zealand. He's been up here the last couple of years, played in the Kelowna Men's League. Was with the Vanderhoof Rippers last year, moving over to STK. A couple other games going on. Peter's Southside Stingers from Australia. They're up 2-1 right now on the Kegel Black Knights. And Townsend Tide are up 1-0 on the Grand Prairie Pirates. That one's in the second inning going on behind us.
Early, but both very surprising.
If that holds, those would be upsets.
They would indeed. But a long way to go in both of them. The Sydney Tropics, if memory serves correctly, were ISC 2 champions 1 year ago.
Yeah, we talked about the inspiration that they provided and the Southside Stingers following in their footsteps here. Doesn't mean that they have to win a championship to be successful, but come here and make an experience.
Josh Cowan in the game to hit, number 9. I believe we have the Houston Aces and the Sandlot Merchants here next. Certainly that's the group that I prepared for, but as the day began, certain preparations don't always pay dividends and can lead to significant extra work, but all part of being lucky enough to be here. As a strikeout, as Cowan goes down and Segura registers a K, which he's not shy on accomplishing over the years. If you take a look at a lot of his numbers, 21 of them at last year's ISC World Tournament for Jorge Segura. He had a pile of them in Oklahoma City at the World Cup qualifier last September.
Peter Scott Hartley at the plate catcher for Seattle. He was the conduit to get Kyle Fry out to the Seattle Dirt Dogs.
That's good storytelling. I like it.
Well, thanks to Corey Ashby for sharing that one with us.
By the way, he had 54 strikeouts in 32 innings in that qualifier. It's a lot of innings and a lot of strikeouts in a 6-team tournament.
They've got a couple of up-and-comers in Guatemala to follow on the footsteps of Jorge, but he is still the man for that Guatemalan national team. But Gianpaolo Ferrari, you're going to see him with Sandlot, likely in the upcoming game. Not sure if he's starting, but likely we'll get some board time out there for Sandlot. And wait till you see this kid come off the board.
Okay. I look forward to it. Anytime I hear the phrase coming off the board, I think we'd be at an ocean somewhere. Today would be a pretty good day to be at the beach.
Yes, I'm sure there are some combers out there somewhere.
I'm a little surprised with your run that you're not in the pool or making brisket. That's generally where you are when I'm on the air and it's 1,000 degrees outside. Well, this one comes to an end. And there is another strikeout for Jorge Segura from Guatemala City, Guatemala. Blair, no surprises, and the 2 early home runs really paved the way for STK.
Yeah, they came out firing in the top of the first inning, set the tone for this game, and got off the field early.
Well, in about a half an hour's time, we'll come your way with another game, myself and the nicest man in softball. His title remains, and his hold on the spot still intact, even though in 2025 he's just been a little sliver away from it. Look forward to it. For Blair Shepard, I'm Peter Labardius. So long for now from Mankato, Minnesota.
Called strike 3, the outside corner. They work out of that. Yeah. High in the air, Viavazo comes to get it, and the Chiefs are back to the top of the mountain. The gloves fly. The celebration is underway.